Last night was an unbelievable basketball game. When you sit here and you see people who are basketball people like the Field of 68 say game of the year, and they start debating, is that the game of the year? 117-115 double overtime, and you sit here and you just can't describe what you saw last night. Just great individual performances and stuff. My mind's blown right now.
No, it was. I mean, it was an incredible game. Darius Acuff, what he was able to do, 50 full minutes. Every minute he was out there scoring 49 points. There was defensively nothing Alabama could do. I don't know if my voice is going to make it today.
No.
Post-Oats.
Lance's voice went double overtime.
I've got a Ricola back here. Would you like one?
A Ricola?
Sure.
Ricola.
Yeah, I'll take one.
Yeah. This used to be really a problem when we were 6 a.m. after Odie's.
Yeah, and when smoking was allowed at Odie's, it was even worse.
Look,
you remember those days?
Well, bro,
no, it was actually pre-Odie's. I will give it to Lance.
Shit. I'm day 23, by the way. So
yeah, I talked to him pre-Odie's, and it was already bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. But Alabama to be down 14 in the second half, to be able to come back, and then, I thought Acuff hit the shot. Was it in the first overtime?
Yeah, it was the one that sent it to overtime, 95-92.
Yeah, I'm talking about, but he had kind of a chippy in the first overtime to end it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he tried to throw the alley-oop to extend it in the second overtime. When, I am not going to question anything Darius Acuff did, because we could go on and we could do the 3 hours on how good he was. That's how good he was. But, boy, you would just like to see him take the shot rather than throw the alley-oop there. The guy couldn't miss.
We've got a running joke when we do Odie's team trivia. If Alabama is on at 6 o'clock, they have the big screen pulled down on the stage. And so we obviously can't start trivia until after the game. And we're like, what if it goes to overtime? Well, it went to overtime. Then it goes to double overtime.
Yeah. Double overtime, 117-115. We'll break it down a little bit here, but let's listen to a little bit of Nate Oats. And if you watch this game, Alabama scored 58 of their 117 in the paint. Cut number 4, here's Nate Oats explaining why that worked for them last night against Cal's Arkansas team.
We played 50 minutes tonight, had 86 possessions, and we only took 29 threes. So everybody's worried about taking our 3 away, which they should be with the way we play, and this team was too. They did some switching, and the lane was wide open for Rel on those those rolls, because they're so worried about our 3-point shooting. But we ended up outscoring them in the paint by 12. So I thought Barron did a good job of that, finding Sherrill on the roll, getting to the paint himself, drawing fouls. So if you combine the paint points and the free throws, we're plus 23. So everybody's, and they shot 3 less threes, but made 3 more. So they made more threes than us. They shot a better percentage from it, but we were able to adjust. Teams want to take away 3, that's fine. We can score in the lane, score at the rim, score at the free throw line. I thought our guys did a pretty good job of that, and I think Labaron was right at the top, making sure he had it up, that paint attack, free throw attack, and did a good job with that tonight.
On that 17-2 run, it seemed like every Alabama possession, and I think they hit like 6 of 6 field goals.
There was a point late, right before overtime, where it showed the graphic. Alabama was shooting 84% in the second half.
Yeah, and they ended up still shooting 76% in the second half. But there was one point where they'd hit 6 or 7 straight field goals, and it seemed like every one of them was either Philon, Holloway, or Wrightsell driving with their left hand into the lane and drawing contact and putting it up on the rim, and it either going in or them going to the free throw line. It was like a duplication of that play over and over and over again, and they just never adjusted their defense or stopped fouling, letting them have it. It was an odd sequence that just kept letting Alabama chip away.
Yeah, there were just so many times. Well, first of all, Alabama comes out red hot, and Calipari has to use a very early timeout, which, according to Jimmy Dykes and Carl Ravitch, he had told them he wasn't intending on doing.
Yeah, something Nate Oats will not do.
Yeah, Nate Oats does not call timeouts. And Calipari did not want to either, Jim, because he knew he had a short bench last night, and he had told Dykes and Ravitch, I'm going to have to say my timeouts to rest my guys because I got a very short bench, which, by the way, that became a big issue. Well, he has to call that timeout early. And by the way, it was a great timeout. Alabama cooled off, and Arkansas got red hot coming out of that timeout. Like, I don't know that I have ever seen a better shooting performance than you saw at Arkansas at the end of that first half. From that Calipari timeout until the half, Arkansas could not miss.
Yeah, and they were playing Alabama basketball.
They were.
Hitting those threes. That's exactly what Bama wanted to do in the first half.
Could not miss. Could not miss. I mean, it was just up and down the floor. Could not miss.
And that's what we were expecting going into the game because you had the third and sixth best offensive efficiency, two of the fastest teams. So we knew it was going to be one of the high-scoring affairs, and it ends up being the highest-scoring game of the year because of the double overtime. Didn't quite get there in regulation, but it was trending that way at halftime. But Darius Acuff, with his 49 points in a losing effort, Acuff becomes the first freshman to drop 49 on an AP top 25 team, most points ever for a freshman against an AP top 25 team, and the most points scored by a freshman since 1990.
But not the most points ever by an Arkansas Razorback. Did you see who has it? I never would have guessed this guy.
Well, if you say that, because I'm going to guess Scotty Thurman,
Todd Day,
maybe Joe Klein.
It's not our boy it's not the shooter.
Corliss,
It's not the shooter.
Williamson.
Shooter.
Rodney Clark.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Would not have gotten to that name.
Rotnei. You remember that?
I do remember that name, but I would never have guessed him.
Wow.
Well, Acuff won't get many more opportunities because he won't be in that uniform.
No,
long.
I mean, there's discussion. A lot of people are saying, is that the best guard ever to play for Calipari? Now, that is.
Well, he answered that question. He was walking out last night in the post game, and we don't have that audio because he stood up.
Yeah, he went on the podium.
Was about to walk away, and he's a nice, smart ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Calipari sits down. He's very nice, and I love Cal. He sits down. And he's like, no opening comment. What you guys got?
Right.
And couple of the guys who travel with Arkansas basketball for their websites ask him some questions that I personally, I'm not going to be Mick Cronin. I didn't think they were great questions, and he made them good answers.
They raised their voice.
He took a question and made it good answers, like Nick Saban did for me for a long, long time. And then, all right, good, quick. I like that. And he stands up and starts to walk out, and the guy to the left of me works in Huntsville local TV, sort of had flinched like he wanted to ask a question. And he stopped and he's like, did you have one before I leave?
Oh, wow.
And the guy's like, yeah, if you don't mind. And he asked him, about what we were just now talking about. And he gave a great answer about he's right up there with one of the best guards I've ever coached. I mean, Derrick Rose
John Wall, STA right now, not necessarily at Kentucky, but what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is doing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, winning an MVP, winning a championship, dominating again this year. I don't think he's ever going to be that good, but he is fantastic.
In college, he's every bit as good as those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Now, will he have the NBA career that an SGA? I don't know.
Well, there were about 21 NBA scouts sitting in front of me last night who were eating it. Well, they usually jump out. Like about 8 minutes to go in the game,
beat
10
the
minutes
traffic,
to
see what I need to see.
When they've seen what they've seen to, or whatever the amount they need to be there to where their club is not going to fire them.
I wouldn't have left that game last night.
And they stayed. They did. They stayed in overtime, LT, to your point. Like I had moved down from my seat to sort of a different seat amongst them so that I could see, because everybody was standing at this point. It was sort of making me part of the court I couldn't see. So I moved down amongst the scouts, and the guy was like, hey, right as this one's about to end, I need to walk right past you. I was standing in the aisle because I'm jumping over that rail, and I got to get out of here before the crowd does.
Oh, that's what the scout said?
Yeah. And I said, no problem. And so I even moved out of his way there, and then he was still there at double overtime. That's how entertaining of a game it was. Those NBA scouts who, I don't know how many games they see a week, they were camped out right there, and none of them left.
Well, I mean, look, everybody likes different styles of football or basketball. That is my style right there. I could watch that style of basketball. For some, it's not enough defense.
But you and I talked last night, though. It's the NBA, but I don't like the NBA.
Yeah, why is that, I wonder? Because I have said that before. This is not the first time this realization has hit me, is that college basketball is very quickly moving to the NBA style. And it's, for me, borderline unwatchable in the NBA. But I very much enjoy watching it in college basketball.
Well, you have a lot of guys now, that aren't playing the minutes. You don't know who's going to be playing. I mean, like
Some of it's the
in the
crowd.
morning, the Knicks could be a 2.5-point favorite, and by the time it goes off, they're an 8.5-point underdog.
Because some guys,
because guys are sitting.
veteran rest. But I think some of it's the crowd too. Like, I mean, last night you were there. The crowd's living and dying with every play. In the NBA, half of them are, eating a hot dog and taking selfies, and then the last 2 minutes, everybody gets into the game because it's the NBA. It doesn't matter until the last 2 minutes.
It seemed kind of like the Coleman crowd last night. Was I off on that?
It
It seemed pretty dead.
slow arriving. It got really good from.
Oh, I mean, hell, it had to, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it got full. I mean, it wasn't 14-5, but it was 12-5. I guarantee you.
They didn't sell out last night.
I don't know if it's sold out or not, but there were empty seats, some empty seats. But it was a lot of empty seats at the start. And by the first time out, I don't know if they're in the concession line or if they're, stopping by Ash Wednesday and doing religious things
That
and
is
then
true.
swinging by. There were a lot of people with ashes on their forehead. But at 6 o'clock, it filled in. I guarantee you it's 12-5, by the time you got to the 10-minute mark of the first half. But, when they come out at 15 minutes left in the pregame clock to do their last come out before they go back and then come out for the final time, the first time they say this is Alabama basketball, there wasn't 1,000 people in there at that point. It was
crazy.
a late arriving crowd.
Well, I mean, to Nate's point, this is your last ranked team, and I think after, I know we'll get to it after last night. We probably agree with him on that one. It's the last ranked team you're going to face at Coleman Coliseum.
No, I'm trying to help my Auburn fans. I'm trying to do 3 hours of Alabama basketball.
I know, yes.
That is finalized now.
Yeah, trust me, Auburn fans would much rather us talk about Alabama, Arkansas.
First, before the Philon Acuff greatest night in that building, for most of people watching us, going into double overtime, Nate Oats had a heart-to-heart with his team, and he saw victory in Arkansas's eyes. He saw Alabama's victory in Arkansas's eyes as they were heading to their bench going to double overtime.
Yeah, what'd you tell the guys going into the second overtime?
I said they're running out of guys and they're running out of steam. I said Acuff hasn't been out of the game yet. I got multiple guys with 4 fouls. Like, we got to run. Like, we should be the more fresh team. I said the best way to run is get stops. We got to get stops and we got to run. And we are not turning this into a walk-it-up game. Not sure how much we were able to get out in transition in the second half, but I just kept trying to encourage them. I mean, they could get a little deflated, particularly the end of regulation. We give up that 3 we shouldn't have gave up. In the overtime, there's some tough plays. We didn't score. We didn't have a very good possession there. We had the ball tied. Had a bad possession. Hindsight, probably should have called timeout when it wasn't going well. There's plenty of stuff I messed up in the game. I got to take ownership, and we got to look at it as a staff. But just encourage them. Look, we got the stop. We're good. We're going to second overtime. We're the deeper, more fresh team. We kind of took Houston out, put Holloway in. Thought he'd be a little more fresh, and he made some big plays for us. So we used our depth tonight, I thought, pretty well.
And that was that ends up being the difference, because it only took one missed shot or one missed possession in double overtime for it to happen. But, I'm sure this happens everywhere in college basketball. Everybody has a song you play when somebody fouls out. And you just don't see a lot of foul outs in college basketball anyway. But, one time you get the hit the road, Jack, and everybody's singing along and they're waving, hit the road, Jack. And then another Arkansas guy's fouled out and everybody's like, hit the road, Jack. And then the third time it's like, hit the road. I mean, it was so many.
Old hats.
I mean, it was so many.
I don't know if I've seen.
You need multiple foul outs on.
We didn't know we'd have so many balls.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know if I've ever seen 4 on one team in college basketball, and I know it went a full 50 minutes last night. But we're not also, look, as good as Philon was, and everybody's talking about Philon and Acuff, Aiden Sherrill, and there were a couple of possessions he didn't know what to do with the basketball right under the basket, but the game he had, the game Amari Allen had, both double-doubles, those were huge nights for Alabama.
And for Sherrill, he lugged that big body up and down. He played over 40 minutes last night.
39 minutes.
Yeah, to Oats' point, they knew the path to victory was to keep pace going because, again, Arkansas, by their own fault, is short-benched. So, especially when guys start fouling out, guys are going to have to stay on the floor, so the more you can work their legs, the better. Just some bad – the end of regulation and the end of the first overtime, just awful offensive possessions by Alabama. One of them a shot clock violation. How do you get a shot clock violation in your final offensive possession? I mean, that's inexcusable. Yeah. I mean, and Nate Oats took ownership of it right there. not calling the timeout. Nate is so interesting with those timeouts. He's like Nick Saban. Saban would never use those into the first half timeouts.
But
He'd go to the locker room holding timeouts more than any coach in America.
The only thing he's consistent about, it was a 13-0 run from Arkansas. He doesn't like calling a timeout to stop a run.
He will not
said
do
it
it.
many times.
Yep.
I'm not going to call a timeout to tell him to play harder. That's his belief system.
No, it is, and he's consistent with it. You got to give him credit.
But he's not afraid to challenge something and lose a timeout
Nope.
in the first 2 minutes of a game.
Nope, he'll do that too.
And so he's very. It's not something he's, I've got to have timeouts at the end. He's not afraid to challenge something in the first 2 minutes and use a timeout as well. Now to Philon and Acuff. I mean, Acuff with 49. I think Malik Thomas had a big game too for them.
Oh, he did. He had 24.
But then Philon with 35. And these, Philon's already been to the draft combine and has come back to play another year. And Acuff is going to be a lottery pick. Here's Nate Oats on the Philon-Acuff matchup from where he was sitting.
I didn't want him thinking he needed to outscore Acuff. We needed to think about what it took to win the game. His defense on Acuff, his playmaking ability. Barron ends up with 7 assists. Acuff played well, obviously, with 49, but, he had 5 assists, Barron had 7. So I think there was things, and obviously it got to the end, and they were both scoring a lot, and we didn't do a very good job on him at all for most of the game. I just, when he plays these other really good guards, we need to get to win. That's it. His version of outplaying them needs to be better defense, better leadership, better ball movement, better floor leadership, all that. And I thought he was pretty good at a lot of that tonight. So, Acuff won the scoring deal. We got the win. That's what I told him. Like, if Acuff wins the scoring, we get the win. Great job. I thought he did a pretty good job. A lot of that stuff.
Going back to the Auburn game, and I know we'll get to Auburn in a little bit, the Auburn-Arkansas game, Richmond and Acuff were 22 of 30. When you look at the starting guards last night, you mentioned Malik Thomas. Richmond, Acuff, 34 of 59 on the road.
Wow.
And that's pretty damn good shooting.
It is. Yeah. You see the celebration of the Alabama players afterwards, a big win for the Tide, and Philon going over to the student section afterwards. They're celebrating it. This does a lot for this team down the stretch, right?
Well, yeah, 5 consecutive wins now for Alabama, and when you looked at those, and we talked to Ron Slay about this yesterday, it was 4 consecutive wins, which is great in conference, but it wasn't any wow wins. That was a game you should have won because it was at home, but the way that thing played out, down 14, coming back, winning that game in double overtime, to have your 5th consecutive win in conference, that was a wow win.
Now, I know Coleman Coliseum only holds a certain number of fans, and much like the Archie Manning game at Legion Field in 1969, I think it was, Ole Miss and Scott Hunter, national TV, Alabama Ole Miss, there's about 5 million people who said they were at that game. There was a game like that at Coleman Coliseum in its early days, the Pete Maravich days, and in my head, I was a little bitty boy in the stands. Probably in reality, I wasn't there, but in my head, I think I was there.
So you think you were there?
In my head, I think I was
So
there.
you really don't know.
But I don't remember.
But your father has passed, so there's no way to confirm that. Because
But I did go to a game, I remember, at Coleman Coliseum, and because I remember the old cinder blocks on the basket.
You've told that before. That's what weighted down the basket was cinder blocks.
They had old, just gray
Yeah.
cinder blocks and nothing.
Right.
But people last night who were old enough to have been there, who have supported Alabama basketball for years and years and years, or were kids back then or now supporting Alabama basketball, that's what they were talking about last night. Best performance I've seen here since Pete Maravich. I know that sort of hit home with you, Brownie. You sort of were feeling the same thing watching from afar.
Just watching it as it went to overtime, I sent that out on social media just to see the response I would get because I thought I would get some of that. Like, well, Brownie, you're forgetting this game. You're forgetting this game. You're forgetting this game. And I got very little of that. I think most everyone agreed, like, the line to beat is Pistol Pete, 69 points at Coleman Coliseum. I believe in regulation. I don't even think that was an overtime win for Alabama. I think that was in regulation.
One thing for sure, there was no three-point line.
Yeah, he scored 69 without a three-point
Yeah,
line.
what did they say? It would have been 80 plus.
Oh, yeah. And I've seen actually what his career stats are. They've estimated with a three-point line. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I sent that out thinking, I've obviously forgotten a performance that somebody will point out. And there were a couple, but none of them measured up to what Acuff did last night. I think you can safely say the greatest opponent performance in Coleman Coliseum history was Pete Maravich. The second best was last night with Darius Acuff. And, I mean, when you start putting him in that category, because that is a game growing up in this state, I know all three of us, whether you were there or not, Jim, all three of us have heard that game talked about in reverent tones before because of what Maravich was able to do and the fact that Alabama actually won the game by 2, much like last night. And I just wonder if Pete Maravich became kind of a bigger-than-life individual, I guess, and then his life was taken way too early. I do wonder, 20 years from now, if people will say, "Oh, I was at that game, that Darius Acuff game."
I mean, Acuff's going to have to do a little bit more.
He is. Maravich didn't do a ton in the NBA, did he?
He didn't, but he's an iconic figure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He became larger than
You
life.
know, he had that long college career. I mean, look, I'm looking at it right here. Not only did he score the 69 against Alabama, other games against Alabama had 58 and 55 in 2 previous meetings.
CM Newton could not stop him.
No, apparently not.
CM needed to work on defense.
Was that CM's team by then?
69? I thought so. Maybe I'm wrong.
Was that also 1969?
68 he had 58,
yeah.
69 he had 55, and then he had the 69 in 70.
Like Brian says, my dad talked about him all the time, Pistol Pete. My dad did too, or still does. My dad
did too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that saw Pistol Pete play, and Acuff is not Pistol Pete. I mean, Pistol Pete is rare air, obviously. But, boy, that game last night, I think if you're an Alabama fan walking out of there, you are so thrilled you won, and you absolutely have to tip your hat and say, that's as good as I've seen anybody do against us.
And by the way, Pistol Pete in today's basketball would kill it.
Oh, he would destroy it. Yes.
Can do
Could shoot
anything,
from outside.
Yeah. His handle. It was a big man's game back then.
But I don't think Alabama's a particularly good defensive team.
No.
Obviously, and we get argued with all the time in the chat. People throw stats out. Stats say something, and eyeballs say something. I watch Alabama play defense. Nate Oats watches Alabama play defense, and Nate Oats does not seem real happy with his defense. Their defense isn't particularly good, but what Acuff did last night, I think you could be playing good defensive teams, and he still does that.
Yeah, I mean, he
was just that
contests
good.
shots.
Yeah.
If you miss a half step and you don't have him covered up, he hits open shots like it's knife through butter. Brooks sent out a graphic last night of the Acuff Philon comparison. Their combined 84 points, the most between two players in an SEC game in over 20 years. And LT was naming some of the talent that just played for Cal in the SEC in the last 20 years. So those two last night, the most combined between two players in an SEC game in over 2 decades. That's what you saw in Tuscaloosa last night.